Good evening, fellow Thunder Wizards. So once again, my software is not cooperating, so I have to go through Chrome and go live. Wonder if I have chocolate protein drink on my face. And I can't show you all the cool little stuff, the pictures and the videos and the links and all that. But I can still talk to you live, so that's what I'm going to do. So this is going to be part 2 of what we did last night. Giants, men, and spirits, or giants, spirits, and men. And the reason why we're doing part 2 is because yesterday I didn't get to the second half. Because for those who aren't familiar with my practice, here's what I'd like for you to do. Go on to my channel, not onto just YouTube. You have to know how to search within somebody's channel. Go onto my channel and search for Thunder Wheel. Also look for Thunder Shamanism. Okay? Go look for those two things on my channel so that you'll have, if you're not familiar with it, you'll have a better idea of what I'm talking about. We are talking about the arc that goes from east to west when we're using the thunder wheel. The thunder wheel is just my particular name for what many would call the medicine wheel or the direction wheel. Anytime that you're using the 8 directions for ritual, we call it here on this channel, we call it the thunder wheel. You can call it whatever you want. And we use the 9 worlds of the world tree, the 9 worlds of the mythological Norse universe. But it's the same 9 worlds that are found in many traditions. The Vedic tradition, the Taoist tradition, the Norse tradition. It's found all over the place. And my experience is that each one of the directions when we do a ritual, even though the Norse call, let's say, the northeast direction, they call that the home of the celestial gods, or Asgard, the fortress of the gods. In the Vedic tradition, it is called it's the home of the highest ether, and it's the home of Shiva, who represents the highest awareness. And in the Taoist tradition, the northeast has its own symbolism and name, which is escaping me at the moment, but it also represents the highest ether. This is true for all of the 8 directions, including the center. The center is Earth, or Middle Earth. It's where we are. We are in a vortex of energy. And I'm here to tell you that being a human being is one of the most exciting places to be here on Earth. This is a nexus of power. And the soul incarnates into human bodies in order to experience this nexus. And so if you're having difficulty with the idea of being a human, first off, I understand. But you can choose to indulge in that and allow yourself to feel like a victim, or you can choose to honestly embrace all of your feelings, comfortable and uncomfortable. You can choose to embrace the adventure that it is to be human, and still have all of your difficulties and your challenges and your feelings. And we can use the thunder wheel and the power of the thunder wheel to enhance this experience. To me, I like to think of it as a video game. I like to think of it as an adventure for the soul, because it really is. And you know, we don't get to experience it as much in the modern world because most of the time people live in cities, and even if they don't, they stay cooped up in a house, and they live through television or internet or phone or something like that. But I love to get out into nature. And when I'm in nature, I feel as though I am in some amazing virtual reality. And for me, the ocean is the most sacred place I can be. It's the most healing, the most powerful. It just gives me joy. I'm a surfer. I love to surf, and that's what that's my medicine. As a Native American shaman told me once, he says, "Surfing is your medicine." He was absolutely correct. I don't know what you're like. Everybody's different. I know this because I'm a Vedic astrologer, and Vedic astrology, one of the beauties of Vedic astrology, there's Vedic and Western. Western is what you see when you open up the newspaper. And Vedic astrology is from East India. It comes from the same basic knowledge, but has its own specific quirks. I prefer Vedic for my purposes. And in Vedic astrology, you really get to see how unique everybody is. And every time that I give a reading, it's really wonderful for me because I just look at the chart, and I may not have any knowledge of the person or any intuition, but I just simply look at the chart the same way that a doctor looks at an X-ray and say, oh, a few years ago you broke your arm and you did that, and now you got this going on, right? And so when I look at a chart, I just do my best to interpret what's in the chart. And then what that does is it validates for people their unique experience so that they don't have to feel crazy, or they don't have to feel like, when you see it and you go, no, that's because that's who you are. You see things very intensely. You connect very intensely to this physical earth, or you don't feel connected to this physical earth. I can look in your chart and tell you why that is. And then all of a sudden it takes on a meaning. And then life takes on a meaning because you realize that you're living in an avatar. And you're supposed to have these limitations because you have a specific goal. You have a specific purpose in this life, in this avatar. And when you can connect to that and understand what your specific, unique experiences are, then it becomes a fun game, because then you know that you're an infinite. The things about you are not your avatar. You are the infinity that comes before this avatar, and this is the being you've chosen to be. Now, some people are very connected. Their identity is very connected to their physical avatar, and so that's a different experience. So there are different kinds of people in this world, and that's what I love about Vedic astrology. In any case, I got off topic, as I want to do. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you've never been on the Thunder Wizard Q&As before, here's how I like to do things. If you're on live with me, please ask me a question. The way I know you're asking me a question is that you write the word question, and then after question, you make hopefully a well thought out question that I will be able to read and understand. If you're new to the channel, there's probably some things that you may not understand, and that's okay. If you just want to come on here and dump your opinion, I will probably ignore you. I will only answer questions, because that's what I want to do. So we're talking about the arc of energy in the 8-sided thunder wheel, or the medicine wheel, that goes from east to west. And if you saw the previous videos, we talked about the arc that goes from the northwest to the southeast, which is the track of the soul, the development of the soul. We talked about the northeast to the southwest. I hope I'm not repeating myself. The northeast to the southwest, which is not the arc of the soul. It is something completely different. And today we're going to be talking about the arc that goes from east to west, which is identity, the self, the limited self, versus empathy, which is connecting to all of infinity. So if, as you know, energy comes into the thunder wheel in the north and goes in a clockwise fashion. That's why we look at clocks clockwise. It's one of the reasons that we do that. At least here in the northern hemisphere, water goes down in a clockwise direction. Actually, it goes the opposite. I remember I went a long time ago, and I was in Auckland, New Zealand, and I had been told that go and flush a toilet. The first thing you do when you get off the plane is go flush a toilet. because you'll see the water goes in the opposite direction. It apparently is this big thing. So sure enough, I went and flushed the toilet, and it didn't go down clockwise. It went counterclockwise, I think. Yeah, I think that's how it goes. And I was there, and there was somebody there that was hosting, and I was staying at their place, and I said, no, it's true. And they said, no, get out of here. And I said, no, the water goes down the opposite direction up north. They didn't believe me. In any case, so the east versus the west. The east is, if you go in clockwise direction, you hit the identity. This is as energy, as consciousness comes into this world, it goes in a clockwise direction as the identity, as the life is forming. It shows you the path of every life. It has to go in this order every single time. And one of the first things it does, in the early morning, because it represents the sun rising in the east, as the sun is rising, as you are born into this world physically, you take on an identity. You take on an avatar. And in order to be able to function, you have to have a strong identity. So whenever we talk about people with an ego, that guy has such an ego, we mean that as a put down. But people who we see as egotistical actually don't have a fully formed ego. And so they overcompensate. So people who are, controlling or full of themselves or narcissistic, it's because they do not have a fully formed ego. They are not self-empowered within their own identity. And so they overcompensate. And this is what the giants represent, because the eastern direction is the home of the giants. There are all different kinds of giants, but the kinds of giants that we're concerned with right now are the kind that walk around, the cyclopses that only have one eye. And this isn't their third eye. It's not that their third eye is open. They don't even have two eyes. They only have one eye, which means they're totally narcissistic, tunnel vision, just into themselves. They don't relate or empathize, because dual is empathy. They don't have any empathy. They are just mono-focused on themselves. And these are the giants that walk around and pick people up and bite their heads off and stomp on houses. And they're just clueless to anything. You can't reason with them. You can't talk to them. You can't have a relationship with them. And this represents the identity when it's not balanced with the other side of the wheel, which is empathy. So as little kids, as you know, little kids are very into themselves, me, mine, and so they're all about themselves, and we have to teach them, things like sharing is caring. It sounds as cheesy as that sounds. You repeat that to a kid often enough, and he starts to understand, oh, there's somebody in this world besides me. They learn how to give. They learn how to share. So that is an empowered identity. The empowered identity has the ability to give. And still, that giving does not take away from them. That is a fully empowered identity. And if we continue clockwise, for you, that would be, is this doing right? Clockwise here. So anyway, I don't know if it's backwards or not. So clockwise, we keep going clockwise, and we end up in the west. Boom. Again, I'm sorry, I don't have my software. My streaming software isn't working, so I have to go straight through YouTube on Chrome here, so I can't show you the picture. But we go into the west, and we end up in the home of the gods of the earth, the elder gods. They're the elder gods because they live within space and time. The gods of fertility, the gods of magic. This is where the wains are, which is where we get the root of the word Venus. Venus is spelled with a V, but in Latin, that V was pronounced like a W. And so the Latins pronounced the word Venus as Venus. And in the Northern tradition, in the Anglo-Saxon tradition, the gods of the earth are called the Wains. See, this is the same word. Venus, Wain, same word. These are the gods of fertility, the gods of magic, the gods of love, the gods of beauty, the gods of happiness and wisdom. Now, why do they have wisdom? They have wisdom because they live in time and space. And because of that, they are known as the elder gods. They are the elder gods because they have experienced life. As a result of their experience, they have wisdom. Now, the gods that live in Asgard, that live in the Northeast, they don't have wisdom in that sense. They have inspiration. When you experience the gods, you are inspired with their power, with their purity, with their piercing, bright white light of their essence, because they're the celestial deities. But that's not the same as wisdom. In fact, you can be incredibly inspired and be fundamentalist. So that's not the same. And that's because they live in timeless perfection. When you take timeless perfection and you try and put it into the three-dimensional earth, there's the potential that people can get so wrapped up in their inspiration that they don't take anything or anybody else into account, and then they're destructive. It's like a bomb that goes off. It's very powerful. But we need that. We need to worship that purity, because that inspiration gives us the power to move into our lives and to create and to be our best, to move past our reptilian brainstem and be our best, our highest dharma, our highest orlog, our highest destiny. So in the West, however, we have very, they're sort of, I want to say like your grandparents. They're not really like your grandparents, but grandparents are like this, and I'm getting to that grandparent age, even though I don't have, any grandkids, but I'm getting, I'm old enough. I could have grandkids. And I find myself doing that same crap that I remember old people doing, looking at little kids and smiling and, seeing kids playing and getting a little tear in your eye, all that stuff. It's because I've been here for a while. I've been here for a while and I've experienced a lot. And on the one hand, I go, man, they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. And at the same time, I go, how beautiful that they get to experience life all over again. The beauty of youth, to see it and experience it all over again. And, that wisdom that, you don't have to say anything. I'm not going to walk up to a little kid and sit them down and tell them everything that's going to happen, because they're going to experience it. I've already experienced a lot of it. Now they get to. This is the Vanir. This is the Waynes, the gods of experience, the gods of wisdom. Wisdom comes through experience. So opposite that is the East, which is how you deal with yourself, your identity. You must have a strong identity. And the first part of our life, we are trying to find out who we are. This is what the first part of life is. First 35 years of your life is trying to figure out who you are. And according to Vedic astrology, once you hit that 35 mark, then you start going down into the realm of knowledge and experience. And then you get to see who you are. You get to see what your purpose is and what you're here to do. And so this represents from the East, as a person being born, a young person figuring, trying to understand who they are, and their identity is, like when you're a teenager, everybody's gone through this as a teenager. As a teenager, those parents, the older generation, they don't know. And man, things are different now, man. And, that's all, because you're getting your identity, not the root chakra, the sacral chakra, the sexual chakra. Sexual chakra is the first harmonic of individuality, and it is the first harmonic of creativity, which is why teenagers are into music and they're into dancing to music. But, the older generation, we all do this. My parents did it, and whatever. We listen to the new music now. It doesn't have any of it's so, it sounds superficial to us. Teeny bopper music. It sounds superficial to us because what we can hear, which sounds so new and so, man, this is really deep. What we hear is the sexual chakra, the sacral chakra being stimulated, which is about the beginnings of getting out of yourself and connecting to others, the first harmonic of creativity, but it's still operating on that level of ego. The second level, the second harmonic of artistry comes from here. Once you get to the throat chakra, that is a different harmonic of artistry. And that is the teacher, the guru who sits on the mountaintop and says, and everybody sits in front of him or her waiting for some deep, and they say 3 words and then they walk away and you go, what the hell was that? I don't know what that means. Well, it's because you're supposed to meditate on it. Take your creativity to the higher levels. So this is where we're at when we get to the gods of wisdom, gods of the earth, the gods of wisdom, because they have experience, but they also have with them tremendous caring, tremendous love, and tremendous giving. So we talked last time, we focused in the beginning about focusing on your identity and having a strong identity. And without that, you can't function, because if you don't have a strong identity and you go into the West, which is empathy and giving, then you become a martyr. And here's what martyrs do not understand. People who believe that they are truly spiritual because they give up all their time, the Mother Teresa's of the universe, Mother Teresa, as we now know, she's passed away. She suffered horribly from, at least from what I understand, maybe I'm wrong, but from what I have read and understand, she suffered horribly from depression. And she had tremendous doubts. She didn't believe in God. How could God exist when there's so much suffering in the world? This is somebody whose identity is not fully formed. And so in order to express her experience of torment and starvation, so I'm assuming she was emotionally starved. She felt alone and unloved. In order to experience that, she projected that onto the world and saw and sought out all of the starving children in the world, and her job was to fix them. What she really wanted was somebody to give that to her, but that's always destructive. I've also heard that she was actually quite abusive in certain ways. I don't know if that's true or not. Wouldn't surprise me, because that's what martyrs are. Here's a famous phrase of the martyr. I don't ask for much. That's when they've been giving and giving and giving and fixing and healing, and nobody's giving back to them. And then all of a sudden it snaps and they can't hide it anymore, and they demand something back. If you've ever worked with martyrs or been in relationship with martyrs, here's one. I don't know if guys talk like this, but girls have definitely talked like this to me, where they will say, and I'll say, listen, I'm not psychic. I need you to tell me what you want. Well, if you really loved me, you'd know. I wouldn't have to tell you. Yes, you do have to tell me. But that is because, again, you've got somebody who is giving for what reason? To get. So in their conscious mind, they are giving and giving and giving because they're spiritual, or they're this or they're that, or whatever, false projection that they're playing out with themselves. You finally get to the point where they need to acknowledge that they need something, but then it's not in the moment. You'll have somebody flip out, and seemingly there's no congruity with what they're flipping out. Something happens, they didn't get whatever. Somebody was passing out, let's say they're sitting in a group and somebody's passing out pieces of candy, and one person didn't get it, and then they finally flip out. I give to all of you and I get nothing back. And so it's like, geez, sorry, here's the candy. We missed you, sorry. That's what happens with the martyr. The martyr is giving to get, and that is not true giving. It means that they haven't given to themselves. So when you give to yourself, then your identity becomes empowered, and now you have the ability to give back. But this is the other half of it. The Gebo rune, which looks like this. Looks like an X. The rune of giving. This is in the thunder wheel, and if I had my thing, I'd click on the button so you can see the rune wheel and where the rune Gebo is placed. It's placed in the realm of the Vanir, in the Vanaheim. because they give back from what they've experienced. Those entities that live in the West have lived their life. They, because the Vanir represents selfishness and materialism, which is why they're gods of fertility, which also represents food and wine and clothing and vehicles and fancy this and comfortable that. And the goddess Venus dresses in the most beautiful and the most luxurious silk because it feels good, and she likes having these beautiful, expensive clothings, and she loves to look good. So she has given to herself, completely given to herself, and satiated all of her desires. And because she is satiated from all of her desires, she now has this abundance from which she can give. And now she gets pleasure from giving, which is why worshiping Venus is a way to, experience yourself, because Venus wants to give. She has all of these beautiful, tasty, sweet treats to give to everybody. That's why she represents physical pleasure, sexual pleasure, because that is the act of lovemaking, the act of sex, is one of the ways in which we allow ourselves to be completely self-absorbed. Beautiful thing about true lovemaking, ideally, is that the actions that you are taking to pleasure yourself are the very things that are bringing pleasure to the person that you're merging with physically. It's the beauty. That's why sex is so wonderful. When it happens, and depending, everybody's got different ways of meeting that need, but when it happens and it's that beautiful thing, right? That's why you can get in a relationship with somebody and the sex is great, and then all of a sudden it all falls apart. Well, you're great at giving to yourself, and in a selfish way that helps the other person, but maybe you don't have that ability to give in other realms. It also means, this is a hard lesson for me. I'm still learning this lesson. Give and take. The Gebo rune goes in two directions, and it's an equal exchange of energy. That's how when I see the rune Gebo, the way I define it is an equal exchange of energy. So the West is also the place of the merchant who has something to give. In astrology, the sign of Libra. If you've seen the sign of Libra, it has the balanced scales, and people think it means justice. It doesn't mean just justice. It does to an extent, but not really. What it means is the merchant who has something of value, who is a merchant because they like to get things of value, things of depth and value, beautiful gems, whatever it is that they're selling. And they're in the marketplace, and they charge for what they're giving. And the person has to pay for that. And then the balance is to see that what they are paying for balances out with what they are receiving. It's an equal exchange of energy. That means you have to be able to receive. That's difficult for me sometimes as well. Learning to receive a gift. To receive a gift. I'm working through this right now because I've worked, as you know, you followed me, I've worked very hard to get where I'm at. And I've reached a really beautiful place in my life where I have, things I've been fantasizing about for a long time. I live 3 blocks from my favorite beach that I've ever experienced, at least in this country. I get to go surfing whenever I want. And the ocean is beautiful and wonderful and all that. You've heard me talk about that. But because I believe in fantasy, and because I believe in fulfilling all of your desires, if I'm honest with myself, I go, there are some things I would change about it. Not change it, I would add. That's a better way to put it. There are things I would add to it. And now I'm thinking about it because I don't make, I make my living from home, working, doing what I'm doing now. I can live anywhere I want. And I've thought about living in different countries and different places, but as you know, I've gone through a lot of stuff over the past year. So I've just been appreciating what I have. But now the thought of allowing the universe to take me to some other location that might give me my deepest desires. I have to grow to allow that. I have to allow that gift to come to me. And the resistance kicks in. People don't understand that what we're not afraid of success. Sorry, Freudian slip there. We're not afraid of failure. We think we're afraid of failure. We're not afraid of failure. We're afraid of success. We're not afraid of being alone. We're afraid of truly being known. I'm using very specific words here. I was going to say being loved, but that means different things to different people. And some people think love is having somebody serve you. If you really loved me, you'd do what I want. That's a very common understanding. Listen, I felt it. I get it. But what I've come to experience is that love is being truly known. And allowing yourself to be truly known is, for me, when I've experienced it, incredibly frightening and painful. And so when I talk about having everything that you want in life, I am not talking about it superficially. I'm not talking about it, I'm not trying to undervalue what I'm saying. It takes a lot of security and a lot of spiritual wisdom to allow oneself to receive, truly receive from the universe, beyond your wildest dreams. I've had that in a lot of ways. I mean, when I moved into this place I'm at now, which now I'm very comfortable in, and for the first time in my life, I'm not just being grateful for what I have, which I've been doing all up until now. I'm actually like, I really like this. I really like where I live, and I could go into all the reasons, like I have already, why I do. But when I first got here, my body went through a whole serious resistance. I mean, my whole right side of my body locked up. I was in a lot of pain because my unconscious mind wasn't used to it. And so it tried to fight it. And this is why it's so important to take action beyond what you think you're capable. And when you go after what it is you truly want, your unconscious mind will fight back. Depending on how much trauma there is in there, your unconscious mind will fight back. And I have seen myself, but I've also seen other people who, when the universe gives them this beautiful gift, they crap all over it. And they're doing that because it's too painful to open yourself up enough to allow that in. So I'm trying to learn that lesson once again. By the way, I think some of you may know it already. Tomorrow is going to be my 55th birthday. 5-5. You can't take that one back. Once you get past the 55, right? Then you're in a whole other echelon of being. Thankfully, my body hasn't figured that out yet. My body still thinks it's 30 years old. At least that's how it feels to me. I don't know if I look that way, but that's how I feel. So I am counting every single day. It's not like I'm feeling old and appreciating. I still feel young, but it's like, man, when is that going to kick in? Maybe it never will. Maybe I'm doing things right, and I've seen 70-year-old bodybuilders, natural bodybuilders who win awards at 70 years old. I still see people out there surfing at 65 and 70 who are just tearing it up. So who knows? Maybe I'll never know. But the point is, I really appreciate everything that I get when I'm finally now experiencing life and experiencing what I deserve. I stop and I appreciate it. Every time I go surfing and I get out of the water, as I get out of the water, I stand at the edge of the ocean and I sometimes weep because it's so beautiful and I want to soak it all in and appreciate it. It might be the last time I get to do it. And if I get a few days of those backed up against, I get a bunch of days where I get to really experience everything like that. It's a really wonderful thing. But we have to have that if we want to have a complete identity. We have to have the other part of it, which is to give back. A lot of us know how to give back, but we also need the other part, which is to receive and to allow ourselves. And, and I grew up in a pretty messed up home, and I went through a lot of crap as a kid. You've heard me talk about that. And I went through a lot of trauma, and I'm the only person in my family, including my siblings and my parents, who survived that and actually created a life and, got some health and some happiness out of it. And I don't know why I said that. What was I talking about? I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, so we'll just leave it at that. Normally, if I had my software, I would say I'll be right back, and I would play a really fun little video for you while I went and relaxed and thought about what I was going to do. But I don't have that. So I'm just going to go straight to the questions. Again, if you're new to the channel, I only want to see your questions. If you want to ask me a question, please write the word question. And then next to that word, write down an actual question, and I'll do my best to answer it if you would like to communicate with me. So let's see. Do not see any questions here. No questions. Nope, there's one. Psych 3 not. Question. Difference between teacher, master, and martyr. So go ahead and ask like a full question with a subject and a verb and an object. Go ahead and put the time and effort into writing an actual question, because I really want to understand what you're asking. So you're asking me, what is the difference between a teacher, master, and a martyr? What is the difference? Here's one of my favorite terms. Why are you asking that question? Here's another good way to ask. Let me help you ask questions that will allow me to best help you. Ask questions from your emotional perspective, not in the third person. So what is the difference between a teacher, master, and a martyr? My first question is, well, what does that have anything to do with you? Why do you care about that question? I want to know why that question matters to you. So is that because you are struggling with wanting to teach, but you're a martyr, so you teach for free or something, and you end up having no time and no money and no energy because you're giving yourself away? If you ask me that, then I can help you, because that's what I hear in that question. The difference between a teacher, master, and a martyr is huge. A teacher, again, if we're talking about traditional teachers will always charge you something. Now, if you want to get high and mighty and self-righteous, then you can say, yeah, well, I go and train with this native person, and he only wants tobacco or a blanket. That's your payment. You're giving him something. There has to be something. There has to be some kind of exchange of energy. So a teacher is never a martyr, ever. If they give something, if they're truly a teacher master, if they give, it comes from their abundance, and they give because it gives them pleasure. But a lot of times they'll have plenty of stuff to give, and they will still force the student to pay. Like if I was independently wealthy, like I had, $5 million, and I didn't need to charge for my services, I might just surf all day and not, do anything. But I would still require some kind of sacrifice. So it has to hurt. And a real teacher is going to be smart enough to know if they've got something of value that the student really needs, they are going to have the student work for that. And it's going to have to hurt a little bit. And that's because that old saying of you get what you pay for, right? So if it doesn't cost you anything, you're not going to get anything from it. So the difference between a teacher and a martyr is that a martyr is, assuming that we're talking about a teacher being a martyr, this is somebody who is trying to prove to themselves or to the world, you know, what a spiritual person they are by giving away everything. And then what ends up happening with those people is that they end up wanting something in return. And these are the people who create cults. So cult leaders are people who will present themselves this way. I have nothing, I am enlightened, or I blah, 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 and you don't have to give me anything, and right? They're creating, and if they do that, and they do that with everybody, they're creating a cult. So you're gonna have to pay, but it's gonna come out from some other place. Emotionally, or you know, you'll be guilted into staying in the religion or something like that. So that's the difference. A teacher never, you know, and a true teacher knows when they've hit their limit. They go, you know what, I need some time to myself. They never give more than they are comfortable giving. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but I actually, my lips are getting dry. I have to get some, I think I have one right there. Anyway, so hang on for about 10 or 20 seconds. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I also had to turn on my air conditioner because it was getting a little warm. Okay, so next question. Dude with a hat. What's up, man? Question. What is something that can help me overcome my fear of success? Oh, that's a good. You got more questions there, but I'll start with that one. What is something you can do to overcome your fear of success? Don't listen to it. See, here's what we need to understand again, is that we in our modern society, and by modern I mean in the past 2,000 years, in our modern society, we have been taught to be martyrs. We have been taught to be slaves, and we've also been taught that we have to wait until we hear from God. When we find out what God's will is for us, then we go do it. But our pre-Christian ancestors understood that success was going to be challenging, which is why in the ancient Norse tradition, the ancient Germanic tradition, those who died in battle went to Valhalla. And it means that those who die to their fears, including the fear of success, as they go after what brings them the greatest joy, what their greatest passion is, when they sacrifice themselves for it and go through whatever pain, and even they're willing to die. In other words, they're willing to be uncomfortable. Then they achieve Valhalla. Then they get that. So nobody ever really gets any of the true, wonderful, ultimate happiness without having to go through the limitations of the ego. Because it's like, you know, again, if we look at this incarnated life as a continual evolution, then you're not going to be satisfied with what you had, but you're sort of fit. You've created a little box for yourself, and it's about this big. But to have what is really coming out of you, which is the deepest desire, which wants to come out, you're going to have to be this big. So that means, you know, like a caterpillar or a moth, it's a beautiful example. They go in a cocoon and they have to bust out of the cocoon. You have to bust out of who you were. Now, who you were is going to fight that. And the fear that you feel is a very real fear. It's a fear of death. You are dying to who you were and making yourself vulnerable, because the most vulnerable time for that moth or that butterfly is when they're trying to crawl out. You know, in fact, if you try and help them, if you go and see a moth, you know, or a butterfly trying to eat its way out of the cocoon and you help it, then it can't fly because it needs that resistance. The discomfort that you feel is absolutely necessary to build the muscle to be able to tolerate the greater person you're going to be. So to answer your question, how can you help overcome your fear of success? Continue to take action towards what you want. That's how you know. So if you look at, again, this idea of the butterfly in the cocoon, your deepest joy is that is the impetus that moth, that caterpillar has to break out. And so there must be something in it that is pushing it to break itself out. And it's a very taxing process. Same thing with, like, you know, you've got a chicken hatching from an egg. I'm assuming it's the same. Let's just assume for argument's sake it's the same. If you go and help them out, you're not doing them any favors. That little brandly, you know, what's about to be a newborn chicken has to gain the strength and the muscle by trying to free itself. And it must be very taxing. But the will to live is what's driving it to go through all that discomfort. So what is driving you to go through the fear of success is your joy. Always focus on that. Now, there's always a back and a forth. You know, this is important too. We're always expanding and contracting, expanding and contracting. So if we're going from here to here, right, then there's going to be an expansion, a contraction, an expansion, a contraction, an expansion, a contraction. And so lots of times when you feel inspired, something really wonderful will happen in your life and you'll feel very inspired. Yes, I can do it. I can become that. And you feel empowered and inspired. Usually what happens almost immediately is then there's a contraction where then the fear sets in and I'm not good enough and I don't deserve it. And you look for reasons why you don't like that and you don't want to be that. So let that inspiration be a way to make a vow. This is why our ancestors lived their troth, T-R-O-T-H. Not their truth. They didn't live their truth. They lived their troth. Your troth is your vow. You know, to get married is a betrothal, meaning you make a vow to the other person that no matter how difficult it is, I am here for you for life. I will love you and honor and cherish. And you know that you are making that vow with the realization that there are going to be some challenges. But you are betrothing yourself to that regardless of what challenges come. You must have that same betrothal to your own soul in order to achieve your soul desire, because the moment that you have that inspiration and you say, yes, I can do it, then you go straight into ritual. Once you see it, you go straight into ritual and you make a vow to the gods. And you say, I vow to you, Thor, Odin, Freyja, whomever. I vow to you that I am going to become, and you state your fantasy. No matter what it costs, I will honor you and honor myself by becoming that which I am capable of. With the understanding that once you're done with that, the next day you're going to wake up and you're going to go, what the hell did I just do? Holy crap, what is this thing on my finger? What the hell did I just do? Now I got to live up to that. Oh my God, what was I thinking? So the same is true. We do it when we get married. We do it, you know, if somebody goes into the military, right? They make a, you know, they know that they're committing their lives and they're willing to die fighting for their country. Your soul desire is the same. You've got to be willing to die to achieve it. So forget about your fear of success. You know, I'm not here to make you get rid of that. I have no interest. That would be like trying to help that butterfly out of the cocoon or trying to help that chicken out of, you know, get out of the egg. that's the worst thing I can do for you, is to take away your fear of success. This, by the way, is why The Secret doesn't work. This is why, who is that? Abraham Hicks. There's some other ones. Things like Tony Robbins. It's great when you go. I have nothing against the majority of what they say and do. But the feeling is, now that you feel good, go do it. And then you get home, and then a couple days after, all of a sudden, you no longer feel like you can do it, and you don't feel good anymore. And you want to go back to that seminar and feel good again. If I can feel good again, I'll be able to do it this time. But it's part of the process. You're supposed to hit that down before you go back up. You're supposed to contract before you expand again. And we live like that all the time. We inhale. If we were just inhaling all the time, we'd explode. Inhaling feels good. I like inhaling. I guess if I were to compare the two, inhaling is the most fulfilling, right? Because again, this is why people smoke. But without the exhale, the inhale doesn't feel as good anymore. So same thing with you. That fear of success, great. You're contracting a little bit. Just think how much better it's going to feel when you inhale again. And the inhale is the action that gets you to the next level. But the importance of ritual, and to understand your ritual, go to astrology.thunderwizard.com, and I can help you find the ritual that works specifically for you, is because your fears are in your unconscious mind, not your subconscious, your unconscious. Conscious, subconscious, unconscious. In your unconscious mind, you have your fears. Now, you don't know what your fear is. Maybe you have an inkling of it, but if you're like me and most other people, your fear is, I don't know, you don't even know what you're afraid of. You're afraid of the unknown. But there's a specific thing that you're afraid of in your unconscious. And when you do a ritual, you realign your unconscious to change. For some people, this can be very challenging. When they do their ritual, all of a sudden their life falls apart. All this chaos happens, and if you imagine the unconscious is like a solidified block, the ritual goes in and starts breaking that up. And then in between forming itself again, it's in this state of chaos. You experience that as fear, as a lot of drama, as challenge, as change. That's how you experience it, but it's your unconscious reforming itself. And then once it reforms itself into the new program that you're programming it with, then things start to go more smoothly. The other thing that's interesting is that you feel like you're falling apart. And as long as you don't react to that by taking destructive action on that, feeling like you're falling apart, other people notice you differently. Like somebody said something about my aura looks amazing right now. So I don't know what you're seeing. But I've had some really wonderful transforming experiences over the past few days, both sad and, I've gone into oh my God, I'm 55, I'm old now. I went through all that, and then I'm bouncing up and down. So I'm going through some transformation, which can be challenging. If you're right, then you're reflecting back to me that I'm going through an expansion. And you see that as my aura, assuming that is an actual ability that you have. Anyway, let's see. What other questions do we have here? Psych not asked earlier, and I missed it. He says, is joy shareable? Of course it is. Again, why do you ask that? How do you doubt that other people can benefit from the gifts that you give them out of your joy? So your joy isn't that you're sitting there being joyful, and I guess there's nothing wrong with this. You can sit there and be joyful, and other people can benefit from that. So I can see that. But when you're in your state of joy, then you give from that. You give back from that. And people can experience that and enjoy that. So again, it makes me want to ask you a bunch of questions. Why do you doubt that? is why are you focusing on sharing it? Is that because you're bypassing just having an experience? Do you feel as though if you start to feel good, you immediately have to give it away to somebody else because you're not worthy just to enjoy it for yourself? Again, I don't know you well enough to know, but those are the questions that come to my mind when I read those questions. Okay, question. I already asked that. All right, so to continue with Dude with a Hat, he asks, question, what is something that can help me overcome my fear of success? I addressed that. He goes on to say, is it the mantra paired with your chart? Yes, that is one very powerful tool, one of the most powerful tools I know of that can help you with that. I am finding myself scared even of doing the mantra. That is a very good sign. It means that your unconscious knows that it can't overcome that. Your unconscious resistance knows that it will lose. So this is what the unconscious does. So for those who haven't had a ritual reading or an astrological reading where I give you your mantra and your ritual, many times I will give the speech that, okay, you do this for 40 days. We do this for 40 days because it takes a minimum of 40 days for a mantra and a ritual to get in and begin to, loosen up that solidified unconscious program. And if there is a lot of self-sabotage programmed in your unconscious, meaning, again, you're unaware of it. I hear this a lot. When I talk to people, or even people that I know, even when I go on first dates or something, I'll hear the same kind of thing. I've been doing a lot of work on myself, and I know myself, and I know that. And as soon as I hear that, I immediately go, I wonder if they do. I wonder if they do, because it's unconscious. So somebody who's truly conscious, I believe, at least in many instances, will say, well, I don't know if that's true or not, but, like for instance, if somebody accuses you of being something, like if somebody accuses you of being unconsciously rageful, for example, if you're truly conscious, you go, well, if that's true, I'm not aware of it, but if it's true, I'd love to hear about it. If you're unconsciously rageful, your response is, I am not. I am so full of peace. The last thing I am is unconsciously rageful, and it really pisses me off that you would say that to me. So I forgot where I was going with this. When you do the mantra and the ritual, what happens is that the unconscious starts to come apart, and all of those fears will come to your awareness, and you'll become aware of why you're afraid of this or why that. And once you're conscious, those old programs have no more power. So let me give you an example. You're 4 years old, and your father abandons the family. So that 4-year-old has to then deal with the pain of having father abandoning the family. And they had dropped their ice cream earlier that day. Daddy gave them an ice cream, and they were eating it, and they dropped it on the ground. I'm just making up some crap because sometimes it just, the stuff our brains come up with is just ridiculous. And so that 4-year-old has decided that because they dropped their ice cream, that's why daddy left, right? Because little kids do that. They're narcissists, so they blame themselves for everything. So let's say that turns into a fear of eating, and then the individual, again, I'm making stuff up as I go, becomes a bulimic because they're afraid if they eat, they'll drive daddy away. Now, daddy died 20 years ago, but they still are bulimic, right? It's because on an unconscious level, they have this program that says, if I eat, I will drive away. I will be left alone. So I don't want to be left alone, so I'm not going to eat, right? Now, when you become aware of how crazy that is, then it no longer has the power over you. You may have other feelings that you're going to have to experience, like the mourning and the sadness, but you no longer have this weird reaction to food. So when you do a mantra, that's what happens. The ritual and the mantra come together to break all that up. As that stuff is breaking up, remember that you created that deliberate, and at the time it was a conscious thought. You created that because you felt that's what you needed in order to survive. So your unconscious is mistakenly trying to help you survive. And so that's why it's so impossible for some people to, they consciously know that this is bad for me, but they can't stop. It's because you can't override that unconscious program of self-protection. Once you become conscious of it, and then you can let it go. But it's going to be, it's difficult. It will feel like you're dying. Now, that doesn't happen with everybody and with every mantra and every ritual. That's an extreme example, but that's why I say, so you may go through some unconscious resistance. So no matter what, do your mantra and ritual every day, no matter if you're too tired or the car breaks down or, there's no excuse. You have to do it every single day for 40 days. And that's why, is so that you can overcome it. So if you're fearing your mantra, I know who this is. If you're fearing the mantra that I gave you, that's a really good sign. It means that that mantra is going to completely shift and change whatever that unconscious, mistaken pattern, that belief that you have that's not serving you. So, it's like, again, I use going to the gym. We know that, people who lift weights, bodybuilders, whatever, they go to the gym trying to make themselves sore. And it gets harder and harder because your body, sees it coming. But the way you can shift that up is by switching your workout, even by, doing the same exercise, but from a different angle. That'll hit the muscle at a different angle. It's not ready for it. And then you're sore again. And we seem to think when we get home, oh, I'm sore, I'm going to get bigger. It doesn't necessarily mean that either. But so in that case, we're looking to cause that experience of challenge, that experience of, drama in the muscles. Oh, I'm sore today. Yay. But when we do mantra, we don't realize that that's what's going to happen too. We do the mantra and it feels good, when we're doing it. And then something happens in our life and we're like, why is this? And it helps to teach yourself, oh man, look at all the chaos I'm feeling. Look at all the craziness in my life. I must be on the verge of something big. And so if you get in the habit of telling yourself that, then, it's, again, it never really takes away the pain and the difficulty and the fear, because, I am talking about something different here, but as opposed to like working out, we understand that. We don't understand when our reality comes apart. But if you can hold on to that and go, wow, I'm in a lot of resistance. This is good. I must be on the verge of something big. And I didn't know this. I remember years ago, decades ago, I remember, the most difficult parts of my life when I did not want to be on this planet. And I thought a lot about checking out. And I don't know where it came from, but there were times I would get there and I would go, I must be on the verge of something, good, because otherwise, why would I feel so crazy right now? Why would I feel so scared and so bad? And that helped me. And again, I must have come from a past life, because that's not normal. But if you can adopt that every time, if you're doing the work to make your life better, I'm not just talking about if you're sitting there sticking needles in your neck and feel sorry for yourself. That's a different thing. If you're doing the work to make yourself more successful and to get what you want, and you run into these periods of challenges, if you can tell yourself, well, I must be doing something right, because otherwise I wouldn't be feeling this, it'll get you to the next level. It'll get you through the next 10 minutes or the next day or the next week or whatever it is you need in order to get past that reaction, that fear reaction to your success. See, this is what we need to be taught. This is what true spirituality is. The pablum, that spirituality is cotton candy, That if you are truly a spiritual person, life is like eating cotton candy. It's just sweet and beautiful all the time. You know, but that if we understood what true spirituality was. Anyway, I'm starting to babble. I want to see that teaching. I want more of that taught out in the world. Because the other stuff doesn't work so good. All right, let's see here. Boy, I feel really, I got to tell you, I feel really loopy today. All right. Let's go back here. Okay, so I think I answered Dude with a Hat. Skyclad Faye question, what's the difference between mantras and Galder? Nothing really. It's two, mantra and, Galder means to chant. And mantras are, japa. Now, here's an interesting, in case you're interested in words. So in the Vedic tradition, when you do a verbal out loud chanting of a mantra, it's called japa. We have a word in English, yap. Stop yapping your gums. We think that it's slang, but it's not. It comes from the same root, japa, yap. Listen to that guy yapping in the corner over there. It means he's talking, he's speaking, he's yapping, he's japa. He's repeating himself. He's saying the same thing over and over again. I'm yapping my gums here right now. Same thing. So what was your question? I really am having a hard time focusing today. Mantras and Galder. So, if you're talking about Galder, if we're talking about the term Galder in the traditional sense, yes, technically it means chanting, and it means chanting of spells. But in the Norse tradition, there is there is Galder and seed. And seethe is the same word in English as to seethe, to boil. And so that is when you are channeling the gods, when you're having visions, or when you're channeling the gods, or speaking, when the gods are speaking through you. That is seethe. Galder is magic. It's ritual. So traditionally, the feminine would seethe. The intuition connects directly to the universe, and they have a vision, or they have the gods speak through them, or they dance spontaneously, or something like that. The direct expression, the direct channeling of the universe through them, that is seethe, what we might call shamanism. Galder, so the seethe shaman gives up their conscious control over to the power of the universe. But the thing about it is that the seethe shaman, when they're done, they don't know what just happened. So people want to be seethe shamans. I mean, there's so many people out there that want that. And I think what they want is they want that experience of feeling connected to the universe. They want that experience of feeling that I can now prove the universe exists because I had this experience. And they think that they're going to remember what happened. But, true seethe, you don't remember what just happened. You're so overtaken by the gods that you don't know what you just said or what you just did. If you have a vision, in my experience, the majority of the seethe shamans that I've worked with who have visions, when they have the vision, yeah, it was a powerful experience, but they don't know what it means. And this is where the Galder wizard comes in, because he or she who has this ability translates, oh, here's what that means. Or or sits there while the person is speaking in tongues or channeling the gods, and then they will remember it and write it down or whatever. Galder represents ritual. The Galder wizard isn't necessarily somebody who goes into trance and channels the gods, although that is possible. It is somebody who knows the spells, knows the rituals, knows the herbs, knows the time of day, when to do this, when to do that. So that's the difference between Galder and Seath. In terms of what your question is, what's the difference between chanting and Galder, or mantra and Galder? I would say, I would go so far as to say that mantra is the very advanced, specific science of Galder for the Vedic tradition. Because mantra and Galder aren't the same. Chanting a rune, for instance. Chanting a rune is technically you're chanting a mantra. You're chanting a seed sound of the universe. But it's not the same science. Mantra is like a mathematical equation. Runes are like single integers, like the zero. So the zero is hugely powerful. By the way, guess who discovered the zero? You know who it was? The Vedics. We would not have our mathematics if it weren't for the Vedics, because they discovered zero. Before that, people didn't use zero. That concept didn't exist. It was then taken by the Muslim culture, and then they used zero, and that's how we got it in the West. It came through India, through the Muslim culture, the Islamic culture into. So if you want to bag on the Islamic culture, they did a hell of a lot of things. Without them, we wouldn't have our modern society. Same thing with the East Indians. Without them, we wouldn't have our modern society. We don't realize this. All right, I forget what I was saying, because I am kind of loopy today. Okay, so what else? Matt Sweeney's beer question: what are some ways to keep ourselves open to growth? I think I've been talking about that. Everything I basically just said for the past half hour, I think, answers that question. Cynthia McLeod question: what direction is best for increasing my courage to have a better self? For that, I need to look at your chart. I don't know, without looking at your chart, I don't know what you need. So you go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. Again, if I had my thing, I'd point up here and go like this. Astrology.thunderwizard.com will tell me, depending on which one of your 3 planets we need to deal with, sometimes, if in doubt, I try to give people a mantra and a ritual connected to the planet associated with the unconscious mind, which is where your blocks as well as your unrealized soul desire sits. But sometimes there's something in your chart that tells me, no, they need to deal with their conscious deity. No, they need to deal with their subconscious deity. I do rituals to my subconscious deity, because that, there's things in my chart that make that the one that's doing the biggest work for me. So to answer your question, let's say it is your Dharma Devata, the planet that connects to your unconscious. I would need to see which planet that is. I would need to know what your ascendant was, your rising sign, and then I would need to know where in your chart that planet is placed, because the sign that it's in will tell me the direction and the element that you need to sacrifice. So for you asking me that question without me looking at your chart, I'm only at best going to give you a general answer. Well, go take an aspirin. Oh, have you tried vitamin C? Nothing wrong with either of those things, but may not fix the problem. Won't hurt. So I recommend you get a reading either from me or from one of my astrology apprentices. Astrology.thunderwizard.com. Ghost in the Machine question: I have a thunder wheel chart in front of me. What is the difference between higher conscious and superconscious? It's a good question. So the higher conscious is in the northwest, which is the realm of the ascended masters, the realm of the elves, the shining ones. And that, when you face northwest, it's a real simple thing, just face northwest, calm your mind. If you want, bring some kind of an offering, like maybe some water or some mead or some honey water. Play some nice music, some flute music, light incense, do something. Sit facing northwest, and again, if I know your chart, I know exactly what you need. Or you can do all 5 elements. If you want to know how to do that, you can go on my free YouTube channel and look for Elf Ritual. There's 2, 1 and 2. Go and do that. That will connect you to your higher mind. The superconscious mind in the northeast, that we've already talked about, that is the realm of the celestial gods. That is even the highest. So Tyr, or Tiw, the god Tiw, whose name is also Zeus, which is actually pronounced like this, Zeus, because the D is the beginning. It's the vocative of the word D. Zeus is not his name. His name is D. Zeus is the vocative. When you call D, you go Zeus, if I understand that right. But his name is D, even in the Greek. In the Latin, D Jupiter. D Jupiter. Sky Father. In the Vedic, Deus Pita. Sky Father. Heavenly Father, is the Christian tradition. Originally that was Tew or Tyr. He represents the crown chakra, the highest awareness. It is Tew, the god of the North Star, the god of the highest heavens, who is the one who fights with Fenris, the wolf of our deepest, basest instincts that are trying to consume us, our addictions. So this superconscious mind is that. Higher awareness is when you're doing this and you go, you know, I can see now that when I act like this and I say that it diminishes me in this way and it's harmful to others in that way. And wow, now I'm really feeling like I want to be a part of healing to the whole world and to myself. That's the higher self. The superconscious is when you are blown away with the power of your highest awareness. That is the superconscious. So I don't talk about it a lot because when it comes to practical reality, the 3 selves, the higher self, the middle self, and the lower self, those are the ones that we have practical interaction with, that we can play around and tinker with. When it comes to the superconscious, this is called worship. You fall to your knees and you bow down to that incredibly bright, like the power of the sun. The sun is so incredible. The purity of the light of the gods is so amazing. We clasp our hands together and we say whatever. The worship, that's what that is. All right. Where did we go? Blake W. question. Every time I have a question, you seem to answer before I'm done typing. I wish I could take credit for it. Does that mean the universe has my back? Of course. And then happy birthday, teacher. Thank you, Blake. Yes, that does mean the universe. Listen, I've experienced it. This is how you know somebody's a teacher, by the way. Because a teacher is just a human. Trust me, I am just a human. That's all I am. I'm no more or less human than any of you. But I have the mantle of a teacher. And it's just like that. It's like wearing a cloak. I wear the cloak. When I'm here and I'm teaching, I'm wearing the cloak of the teacher, or I've got the magic emblem or the whatever, you know, that gives me the whatever. I'm not thinking ahead. I don't even know who you are. I'm not thinking to myself, you know what, this person needs to know that, and that person needs to know. I'm not doing that. I'm just literally just letting whatever fall out of my face needs to fall out of my face. But I've experienced that with teachers, like, how the hell did they know? And you go home thinking, wow, and you're like freaked out, like they have some psychic bead on you and they know something about you. Now, I do actually, my teacher is kind of like that. My teacher has some skills. I mean, that guy, you walk in the room and he can see in your aura, you know, you can't hide anything from that guy. I'm not that way. I do have some skills, but it's usually comes from how you act and what you say. If you don't want me to know what's going on, don't talk in front of me. Because once you start talking, I'll know. I will know what's going on under the surface. Which is probably why I'm good at this, because when people write out their questions, I have a sense of what's going on under the surface. But I remember once I was teaching a spirit fighting class, and the way we would do it is we would do the class where I teach you how to do the forms and get the energy moving, and then we would do some practical martial arts applications of exchanging energy, and then we do the part where we sit around and we talk, and I talk about the Tao, and if there's questions, whatever. But it's usually just, you know, the teacher blabbing on and on. That's how I was taught, so that's what I did. And I would do as I do now, and I would start to give. Let me give you an example. What if it this, that, and the other? And I'm telling this story, trying to give a point that I'm interested in at the moment. And there's this couple there in the class, and their eyes are getting big, and they're looking at each other like that, and they're like, "How did you know? How did you know that's what we just went through?" And I said, "I didn't. I didn't." It means that somebody else knew. It means that their guides are channeling through me. So I think I'm coming up with some great idea, and it's not me at all. I just happen to be in my teacher mode. So yes, my friend, it means that your teachers, your guides have your back, and that they are stimulating me to talk about something that you need to hear. And all the while, I think I'm saying something. It's another interesting thing, you know, as I'm doing this, I'll be honest with you, the majority of the time that I'm speaking, I'm feeling self-conscious. Like, God, that sounds stupid. Or, God, you know, like I said, I wouldn't want to sit for 2 hours and listen to me. But that's just my ego. That's just my human ego. And, you know, so it's actually me wanting to give back and wanting to be obedient to my destiny and to my guides by doing this. And I hope every time I do it, it's like performing when I was an actor. I hope I do good tonight. I hope I'll hit it tonight. I hope I'll say something somebody wants to hear. So it's helpful to hear that. So thank you. Anyway, forgot what I was saying. Let's move on. So now I'm self-conscious. Let's see. Where are we? All right. So please, if you're new to the channel, just give me your question. I don't need anything else. I don't need any statements. I don't need any. Just give your question. That's all I'm interested in. I want to help. And that's the best way I can help. Skyclad Faye, question. So can you give a Galder sequence instead of a mantra when giving a reading? Why? Why don't you want a mantra? You know, mantra is its own thing. You know, here's the thing about teachers. If you're going to work with a teacher, let them do their job. You have to let them, you have to assume that they know something you don't. If they are somebody that you need to have, that you need to learn from, then you go to them and you say, what should I do? Give me instruction. When you go to a doctor and you are going to like the ultimate doctor who is a master at healing whatever your issue is, you don't walk in the door with, I think what I want is I want this prescription. Can you give me that? If he's a true doctor, he's going to go, just let me do my job. I'll figure out what prescription you need. So I don't do those kinds of, first off, I don't play around with runes. Runes to me are too powerful. Maybe I haven't mastered them yet. But I do not play around with the runes, and I certainly wouldn't try and take runes. You have to understand the power of the runes. The runes are infinite seeds from which the universe is created. The reason why I stick with the what do you call that? The original runes, the first set of runes. I forget what they call it now. But you know, the original 24 is because that works. And those are different from other types of energy sources. They are, you know, you can't add or subtract. That's why I don't use the other rune futharks, the elder futhark, the older futhark, the older alphabet. I use the elder futhark because that is the original, that's the one that works. When you add or subtract, it's not the same anymore. And each one of those seeds are like, you know, the seeds of the universe, like the essence of stars. You don't play around with that kind of nuclear energy. So for me to think that I could replace for you a mantra with these nuclear seed sounds pushed together, because you, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, want to have a rune galder instead of a mantra. I don't have that. I either haven't mastered that, or I just don't have that much chutzpah to do that. And that's because my experience of the runes, you notice I don't talk about them a lot. I've taught them. There's all kinds of videos of me teaching them. If I start talking about a rune, that rune comes alive. And it's like the nuclear power of the universe. I don't mess with it. That's why I don't have any runes on my body. I don't wear any runes, because I don't, can you handle that kind of power? I'm not Superman. Maybe Superman can handle it. I can't. So for you to ask me to do that, I know that, you're coming, I don't know what your motivation is, but number one, you're asking me to do something that could be potentially harmful to you. It definitely could be harmful to me, because if I'm the teacher and I do something and I don't know what I'm doing, it's going to blow up in my face. I don't want that. But it shows a lack of understanding of what mantra is. Mantra is if somebody were to take the runes, and this isn't entirely true. I can feel as I'm making this isn't entirely true, but it's as if somebody, if they were able to take the runes and take the bits and pieces of the runes and put them together to form words and sentences, and they knew what they were doing. That's what mantra is. Mantra is a science. And so you're asking me to take this highly developed science of mantra and sort of turn it over into rune mantra stuff. And I don't know that works, and maybe someday, but the other thing is that if you want my help, then don't come and tell me how I should best help you. Allow me to do my job. If I don't know what I'm doing, like a doctor, I will ask questions. Sometimes when you walk in, the doctor will look at you and go, oh, that person has jaundice. They'll know exactly what you need. Sometimes they'll go, so tell me your symptoms. Let me do my job. And if you want my help, I'll be happy to help you. But it shows, here's why I'm reacting to it. It shows an unconscious resistance on your part to sabotage your healing. Because one of the biggest ways that we get in the way of our healing is trying to control things. So when a student comes to me and wants to tell me how I am supposed to teach them, they're trying to stay in control, which means on an unconscious level, they are saying to the universe, don't transform me. I know what I want. And the universe says, fine, do it yourself. You're on your own. That's why when you go to teachers and you ask, like if you go to China and ask them to, they'll just close the door on you. They'll say, thank you, I have all the students I need. Or they will give you something that doesn't work. So if you had asked me that question under different circumstances and I was a Chinese teacher, I would say, sure, I can do that, and I would make up nonsense and give it to you. So do yourself a favor, let me figure out how I can help you. Come to me with your honest questions that come from your emotions. If you have a fear or something like that, talk to me about that, then I can help you. Gremnor Thomas, question, what do you think about babies getting vaccinated? I don't have any opinion on that, and even if I did, I wouldn't share it because that's not my area of expertise. So we'll just leave it at that. Psych not question, how did you find your ocean? I want to know why you're asking that question. I found this ocean because I grew up in this area and I've surfed all up and down the coast. And I spent years searching for the beach that made me the happiest. And so far, this is it. That's how I found the current ocean I have. I'm open to new ones. In fact, I'm kind of probably going to start looking for, I say it out loud, it scares me. Probably start looking for how to improve what I have. Let's put it that way. Gremnor Thomas, question. Does blessed olive oil from the Christian tradition have any effect on an individual? So, Gremnor Thomas, remember, I do not teach other traditions. It is, you don't mean it this way, but it is disrespectful of you to ask me about other traditions. Also, you're not making use of what I'm giving you. I have how many, 400 or something, how many hours of videos do I have where I'm teaching things? I have books and DVDs where I teach all kinds of things. Study those things. This Q&A is best used for those who are studying the materials I have created. When you study those materials, then you have questions that I will then want to respond to, which will give you the greatest teaching and knowledge that I have. Asking me about stuff I don't know anything about is a waste of your time as well as mine. And it's disrespectful because it says, I'm not even paying attention to what you're teaching. Hey, here's something that popped into my head. What do you think about this? I know you don't mean it that way, but that's how it comes across. Anyway, I didn't used to think that way until I'd been a teacher for years, and then I understood why all those, those teachers that I worked with, especially those Asian guys, why they were such a-holes sometimes. Now I know. It's for your benefit. If you have a true teacher and he's being tough with you or direct with you or not giving you what you want or being an asshole, it's because he knows or he or she knows what it is you need. And you don't have to like it, but here's what you need. And that comes from you either trust me or you don't. It's okay if you don't. Psych not question. What is your best beginner guide for European mythology? The book that I read from and read from is The Masks of Odin. I just now got an idea. Maybe I should write my own book like that. But, oh, that sounds like a lot of work. The Masks of Odin. Masks of Odin is really good in a couple of ways. One is that I think she's passed away now, the author, she gives translations of some of the names of like the dwarves, for instance. And that's really important. It's extremely important. And Vedic teachers who do that, like the teacher, Swami Saraswati, who wrote the Chandi Path, where he teaches about Chamundi and the mythology surrounding her. And he translates from Sanskrit the names of the demons that she fights. So it's not just some Sanskrit name that you don't understand. It's like, oh, that is self-deprecation. That's pride. That's ego. That's gluttony. You see how the goddess fights that, which is all a way of teaching you what you need to do. Or if you worship her, how she will help evolve you with these issues that you have. So she's good at that. But she writes a bunch of editorial stuff where she interprets things through her, what was that? I forget what that was called. The something, the soft, so some like in the 20s, there was some like new age thing in the 20s, and she was follower of that. So the majority of the stuff when she tries to bring her understanding of religion in it is all nonsense. So throw all that commentary away. But when she translates names into English, that's one of the reasons why I use it. It's really helpful. So the masks of Odin. Skyclad Faye, this is not a question, but she says, want to know where my boundaries are. I keep saying you should have a session with me. You cannot do brain surgery on yourself. I can't either. I have people that I go to. I have places that I go. I have a teacher. I have a group that I go to, and I let them reflect back to me where I'm at. And they tear me a new one. And I'm the teacher here in this instance. They're not my students. That wouldn't work if they were my students. They're not my students. So, you know, we've had a back and forth for a while. You follow my stuff, get a session with me. career.thunderwizard.com. That's where you go if you just want a session about anything. Doesn't matter what it is, but I can help you. And I'm going to tell you some things that might be challenging, and I'm going to tell you some things to do that might be difficult. But if you're willing to do that, I think maybe I won't be able to help you, but I think I will be able. But I can't do that unless I talk to you, because I have to be talking to you one-on-one. But the middle of okay. All right, looking for the questions here. All right, I don't see any questions directly for me. So, gosh, I wish I could put my thing on and go for whatever. Let's see, the middle of the candle. So middle of the candle, here's how things work here on this channel when the Q&As. Please, if you have a question, write a question. Do that, write question, and then put a question after it. This is not a free-for-all where you put up and you talk about something or throw your opinion. I bypass all of that. I ask you not to do that because it gets in the way of my ability to answer people's questions. Because sometimes I miss people's questions because there's somebody who just wrote a big paragraph about something and I missed the question. So that's how I would prefer that you interacted. But welcome to the channel. Tara B, question. Do you have advice for young shamans fearful of communicating directly with spirit? Well, what the hell are you doing communicating with spirit? Are you truly a shaman? I asked that kind of open-ended, but this may not apply to you, but as what I was saying earlier, there's a lot of people who want to be shamans because they think that's the spiritual thing to do, and they don't understand what shamanism is. Like true shamans are conduits, and so it's not a pleasure cruise. You may enjoy it, you might not. Like for instance, the West African drumming tradition that I learned. Again, like runes, the percussion rhythms, and let me give you an example. It's not one guy who has a bunch of drums in front of him. Like drum kits, Western drum kits. One of my teachers said he went to a drumming something somewhere, and there were drummers from all over the world, and there was some Western guy, and he was, we probably would have thought he was very talented, but he's sitting there and he's got all these drums, and from his perspective, he went, what an egomaniac. Because there's one person trying to play all the different rhythms. And in this tradition, you might have a troupe of 10 drummers playing different drums, different size drums, and there might be a lead drummer, and then everybody else is playing rhythms. And some guy's rhythm might just be dum, 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 dum. right? You put that next to somebody else who's doing something totally different. And then you have one guy who's giving the through line. Dun, 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 dun. And then you put all that stuff together, and then there's somebody playing bell, and then there's somebody playing shaker. Each person isn't just sitting there doing whatever the hell they feel. Each person has their own very specific rhythm that they must play. Because if they deviate from that and they play something else, the whole combination, the whole equation doesn't work. But when you have the whole equation in the exact order, it opens up a portal and down come the Orishas, which are the gods, the ancestors. And when I would play that, again, talking about, you think you want to be a shaman because it sounds cool or it sounds spiritual or you think it's going to get you high or whatever. I would do that. And yeah, I love playing. But when I play, and ironically enough, I'm only happy, I won't play drums unless I'm playing the traditional rhythms. I won't do it because I'm not interested in the drum circle chaos. I don't care about that. I only want to play the traditional stuff because then and I will only teach that. If somebody wants to learn from me, I will only teach them the traditional stuff. And when everybody comes together and does it, then the portal opens and then I start doing this. My eyes roll back in my head and I start playing and then people start saying, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that?" And they'll hear weird things. I won't get into it. But then I can't function for a day after that because my crown chakra, and it's like my crown chakra hurts. It's like, so I have this power. I guess you could say that I'm technically a master drummer, even though there are drummers out there that are far more skilled than I am. But apparently I'm a master enough that I can, under the right circumstances, open up the Orishas. I probably need to start doing drumming again. I probably need to start doing that again. Teaching that again. But it's not something I do because it makes me, I need to rest for at least a day just to get myself back into my body. So what would I say to a shaman who is afraid of the spirit and a young shaman? I would want to find out if you're truly a shaman. That question makes me doubt that. Makes me wonder why you're doing it. Don't do it. There's all kinds of things you can do. You don't have to try and communicate with spirits. Listen, the Ouija boards, there's nothing spiritual about a Ouija board, which is kind of what you're talking about. Being able to communicate with a ghost, for instance, means nothing. It's like saying, I spent an hour talking to the homeless drug addict. It doesn't mean anything. There's nothing spiritual. A shaman is not somebody who talks to the spirits. That is not what a shaman is. I'm a shaman, and I don't seek that out, and I don't do that. It has happened, but I don't seek it out. And when I'm being a shaman right now, I am a conduit for the power of the universe. I'm fully conscious in my own mind. I'm in full control of what I'm saying and doing. And in fact, the spirit fighting tradition that I learned was about getting rid of unwanted spirits. And so when you were really full of power, you'd walk into place and spirits would leave. And then you're alone. And you don't realize it. Most of us, we live in our homes not realizing that we're surrounded by spirits all the time. But when you have that power flow through you and you know that, and then you finally feel what it's like to be completely alone. That's the power of the shaman also. So again, I don't know you, but that question makes it sound like you have a superficial understanding of what shamanism is. And I say, dump it. If you want to learn true shamanism from the way I teach it, go to thunderwizard.com. I will teach you shamanism from the ground up, from the very beginnings up, and teach you what's important about it, not what's cute and fun and popular. Okay, enough of that. Let's see. Trish Blanchard question, how do you know if you are a shaman? Who cares? I just kind of said that. Who cares? You know, why do you care? Just be a human. Everything I'm teaching you is about being the best human you can be. Just be a human. If you're a shaman, here's the thing about shamans. Shamans are called. People try to give me a hard time about this. I shouldn't be teaching shamanism because shamans are called, and there's some truth to that. There is no reason why anybody can't do energy work or ritual work, because humans, all humans are shamans. Let's answer it that way. All humans are shamans to some degree, which means that all humans will benefit from meditation, energy work, and ritual. It may not be your path in this life to be a conduit to the same degree as others, but everybody's a shaman. So if you're asking me that, how do I know I'm a shaman? Who cares? You know, shamans at some point will go through a death of the self. They may either get sick and have a near-death experience, or, you know, they may have a life, you know, experience where everything will fall apart and come back together. The imagery that many shamans around the world experience is that they either have a near-death experience, or they have a dream, or they get sick, or they have a vision where they are chopped up into pieces and then put back together in some way. Different versions of the same thing, torn apart and then put back together. And it's not a pleasant experience. So why would anybody want that? I struggled with it. I didn't want to be it. I pushed it down the majority of my life, trying to fit in. I was talking about this with somebody today, trying so hard to fit in and be like everybody else. And it was so painful, feeling so misunderstood. Why do you want that? Why would you want that? It's a very lonely path. But the point is, if that is your destiny, you don't need to try and figure it out. It'll make itself known to you. But you can still go and learn shamanism, which I think is beneficial for everybody. So thunderwizard.com. Let's see what else. Okay, so middle of a candle, please write question so that I know you're asking a question, because most of the time, as you see, most of these big paragraphs are people just writing, and I bypass them. So I see here that you're trying to ask me a question. I don't want to miss your question. Put question before what you say. Thunder Wizard, you have spoken about astral or mind portals. However, have you been through a physical portal? Are there any warnings to be heeded? So again, let me thank you for coming onto the channel. Thank you for your question. Please watch more of my videos. Please read my books and know what it is that I teach. I get it that sounds like fun to you. If I answer your question, yes, I have been through a physical portal, how does that help you? Do I now have some validity in your eyes? If I say no, I have not been through a physical portal, then am I not able to help you? How does that knowledge help you live right now, this second, to be in the portal that is within you, which is your soul? Your soul is a portal to infinity. The most powerful place you can be is in your soul. And that doesn't matter. Even if a physical portal appears in front of you, if you walk through that portal and you are not connected to your soul, it means nothing. This is why when people ask me what happens after death, and who cares? When you die, you bring yourself with you. If you are out of alignment with your soul, wherever you end up, you will be out of alignment there too. People talk about exiting the matrix. And I want to exit this matrix. It's a horrible place. I'm miserable. And I'm like, well, until you figure out how to have fun here in this matrix, even if I gave you a way out of this matrix, you would be miserable there as well. It wouldn't matter. So to answer your question, focus on your soul and let me help you do that. If you let me help you do that, you can have the experience I had today. And you can have the experience that I had yesterday, where I was walking along the beach after having surfed and experienced this beautiful, wonderful, crazy, weird world we live. I mean, think about it. I was out on liquid and I was skating on top of a moving water. I mean, that is, why do you need to go somewhere else? There's so much crazy, weird, beautiful stuff here. I was saying that today. I was weeping as I'm riding my bike along the beach. And I'm looking out over my favorite beach, and I'm thinking to myself, thank you for letting me be in this beautiful realm, this dimension that we call Earth. Thank you. It is, if we could understand how much fun there is to be had and experienced in the natural world that we have around us. People spend so much time doing what we're doing now, focused on some, internet reality. But what's right out there is just, I love it here. Yeah, I have problems like all of you. I get lonely, I get sad, I have pain, I have fear, I have all that. I love it here. I know why I came here now. Listen, I'm 55 tomorrow. Many of you have gone through a lot of what I've gone through. I want to say you have no idea what I've been through, but many of you, I'm sure, do. I've worked through so much stuff. I'm still working through so much stuff. I wouldn't want to live through that stuff again. That was painful. It hurt. But I'm on the other side of the majority of that, I think. And it's given me the ability to appreciate this place. It's so amazing. And so why waste time worrying about things that are out of your control? The past, the future, politics, crime, whatever. I want to help you have that experience. If you practice what I teach, it is my belief that you will perhaps get that or get closer to it. All right, what else? Thank you for your question. All right, I don't see anything else here. It's we're coming up at about 2 hours. So because I don't have time to, take 2 minutes and come back, I'm starting to peter out. So I guess I get to upgrade, and I have to find a better software to have more fun, interactive stuff. So let me now tell you all the places you can go. I've already told you, thunderwizard.com. If you want to learn shamanism, also there's all kinds of, I don't even know how many videos there are. In fact, I'm behind. I need to put at least one out here in the next couple of days. And I give private videos to the online students who follow that. And it is one of the best ways to support this channel. If you want to support this channel continuously, go and subscribe at whatever level you're comfortable with. And you will, at the very least, get access to all of the private videos, and you'll be able to learn, all kinds of really cool, fun stuff. If you want an astrology reading from me or from one of my apprentices, you can go astrology.thunderwizard.com. If you want to, I believe this is right. Should I check this out? Let me check this link here. If I go to, let's see, astrology certification. thunderwizard.com. Does that take me where I want to go? Yes, indeed it does. So go to, if you want to get certified and learn it's not just Vedic astrology. I'm not just teaching your basic Vedic astrology, because there's a lot in it. It's a huge science. There's a lot of things that even I don't know and I'm just beginning to learn. But what I teach is a specific niche astrology, which in my experience gives very practical knowledge and information and reading so that people can take what I give them and then practice it and take control of their destiny and experience the best they can out of their own destiny. Astrology certification.thunderwizard.com. You want a rune reading from me? Go to runereadings.thunderwizard.com. If you want to be certified in the 9 world rune reading and you want a place where you can see every single video I have ever made about all of the runes, and this includes my paid DVD stuff as well as the free stuff, as well as the other subscription stuff. It's a huge amount of videos. You can go to rune certificate. Please do what I'm asking you to do. Certification.thunderwizard.com. I believe that's it. And if you just want to have everything that I've taught in one space, go there. If you want to be certified, you can. If you pass the certification test, then I will put you on my website as a certified rune reader, help people start. Here's something to understand. I didn't realize this until after I had created it. That when you get a certification from me, what is going to happen afterwards is, number one, you will be put on my website. So when somebody goes to astrology.thunderwizard.com and you're a certified astrologer, your name will be down there. Above me, there will be all of the premises. Right now, there's only a few. And people will want to get from you because I charge more. So you still will make money, but they're going to pay at least half price to work with you. And then I will give you, and I didn't even realize how valuable this is. This in and of itself is worth what I charge for the certification. I will give you your own webpage on my site, which will have whatever word you want, frank.thunderwizard.com. And you'll have your own page where I will put, again, your welcome video and a button where people can click and buy from you and all of that. And I go on the honor system. I have no interest in processing your money. Plus, I don't want to pay the taxes on that. So you will then, money's going to go straight to you, and then it's on you to give me the percentage that I'll tell you ahead of time, a small percentage. But I'll put up whatever other links you want. If you have other things that you want to do and other services that aren't even what I will certify you for, I'll put those links on your page for nothing. And you can put it on a card and you can say, oh yeah, if you want to learn from me, blah, 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 here's frank.thunderwizard.com. Go there. And it'll go straight to your webpage. I don't care. I'm here to create teachers. I'm getting emotional. This is important for me. I'm here to create teachers. I'm not here to create students. I honestly don't want to deal with students all day long. I want to surf all day. I want to surf and go to the gym and meditate and binge on Netflix and enjoy my life. I want to create teachers. I want to create healers. And that's my job. I want to teach you so that you can be self-empowered. You can be your own teacher. The stuff that I teach, like, for instance, thunder shamanism. There's a book out there that I've written called Thunder Shamanism. In that book of Thunder Shamanism, I teach you about the thunder wheel, and I teach you about the 9 worlds and the 8 directions and ritual and all that. And the rune wheel, advanced rune shamanism. I teach you about the rune wheel, which is the 8 directions and the 3 sets of the 24 runes and stuff that I've discovered and or channeled that is incredibly powerful, that I think is like a decoder key for the universe. I haven't even begun to scratch the surface on what this is. And the reason why is because it's not mine. Yes, I saw it and or translated it and or discovered it and or synthesized it, or who cares. But I'm giving it to you because I want you guys to figure it out. I want you to figure out and know more than I do. I want to create something and give to the world so that when I'm done with this avatar, that this knowledge will continue to grow and people will begin to branch off into other directions and create new things. And like a virus, it'll grow all over the world and help bring people, maybe I'll get to reincarnate and come back and learn from you. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I want to do. So every time you buy my stuff or learn my stuff or get a certification or even the free stuff, if you practice the whole breath, this is what we are creating. I don't even know where this is going yet. At some point, I'm going to have to start, having live seminars and all that kind of stuff, which I don't want to do, but it's going to come. And maybe I'll be in a really wonderful, beautiful wilderness power place where I can bring you all there and do that. I don't know. We'll see. This is what we're trying to accomplish here. This is what I want to share with you. Okay? So, anyway, I can't think of anything else. Let me see. I think there might be some more questions coming up before I leave. Ghost in the Machine, OBS Studio to make videos. Well, I'm not looking to make a video. I'm looking to stream live. So I don't know if it does that or not. I was using Wirecast, but it's too buggy. So I need to find something else. Jedi Black Knight question. Your Aruda has Mars, which also rules your 4th and 9th houses, which means it's my Yoga Karaka. Yes, that is all true. Does this imply that the 4th house and the 9th house matters are also connected to how you need to express yourself? I would have to say yes to that. How could I not say yes to that? See what I mean? I don't have this all mastered. And there are a lot of students that come to me and say, hey, I was working with the rune wheel or the thunder wheel, and what if we did this and that and the other? And it's like, whoa. And somebody already asked, and the other people have asked, what if we put the rune wheel on top of the Vedic astrology chart? Does that? And then I've done that, and I've walked through that, and wow, that works too. I haven't spent enough time to actually create it and bring it forward. I'll have to do that. But that's other people taking the tools that I'm giving and creating new stuff, understanding, synthesizing new things. That makes me very happy to see that, because that means I'm not just making this stuff up. Yeah, congratulations, Skyclad Faye. She's feeling strong. Congratulations. I'm happy to see that. Yeah, I'm happy to see that. Congratulations. Psych Not 3 question. What are your thoughts on homeless? My thoughts are, ask me questions about what I teach. It's not a dumb question. I mean, I'm actually mulling the answer in my head, but if I feel inspired, I'll look at that question another time. Read my books, watch my videos, ask me about that. That will make me happy. Oh, it does stream live with, what is that thing? What was it called? You said you use OBS Studio. Okay, I'll look it up. CJ Quare says, I can't find Daniel Leese, Kimry, or Mark Graham anywhere else on the internet. These people don't seem to exist outside of your website. Well, I promise you they do. I don't know who you are or why you're asking that question. They are people who have chosen to become certified as astrologers by me. You haven't looked that hard. I won't tell you who. Two out of those 3 people are on the net. And they do other things besides what I do. And they have their own. I'm not even going to tell you what it is. You obviously haven't looked hard enough. So I don't know if you're looking for, if that's confusing to you, or you're looking for an excuse to say I'm making them up or whatever, but they do exist, and who cares? What difference does it make? Do I make them sign a contract? No. Nope. They could totally rip me off if they wanted to. No, I don't make you sign a contract. I don't make you do anything. Like I said, they're on the honor system. Every time that they make a sale, money goes straight to them. They're on the honor system to give me my cut. And I would never know if they didn't. And you know what? That's not on me. That's on them. You want to live with that karma? That's up to you. You go right ahead and do that. As my partner said, you know, one phrases she said to me that I'll never forget. You're the one that has to live with it. One of the, you know, I really loved her. You're the one that has to live with it. So if you can live with it, go right ahead. Is that everybody? Is that everything? That's everything. Okay, my friends, I've said my piece for tonight. So that's it for me. Wish me a happy birthday. Tomorrow I'm going to be old enough to go and live in in one of those senior citizen trailer parks by the ocean. I'll be old enough to be able to go and buy one of those houses. Okay, that's it, my friends. I see you next time. Thank you very much. Talk to you guys soon.